Hello, good evening. Welcome to Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo to present. Our top stories in the news tonight: KANYAMA man arrested for defiling his granddaughter. Tumor survivor discharged from hospital. Government to support 13 ladies who were abducted. In international news, Somalia bans SHABAAB propaganda content. And in sports news, Zambia remains unbeaten in the Under-20 COSAFA Championship.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Hello again, another news in detail. People living with ostomy have expressed happiness through the kind gesture exhibited by Stomach Care Support Zambia to provide them with free colostomy bags. In an exclusive interview with Camnet News, 68-year-old Reverend Peter Muzia says he had to adapt to living a new way of living after being diagnosed with colon cancer in 2018. He explains that colostomy bags are too expensive, forcing some people to make their own bags that are of poor quality. He, however, notes the need to raise awareness of the condition and remove the negative stigma. More in this report.
Undergoing stoma surgery can be a life-changing process in many cases. For some, a stoma will be a solution to a long-term health complaint. For others, a necessary intervention after a sudden onset condition or traumatic injury. In all cases, living with a stoma requires careful lifestyle adjustment as well as support from medical professionals and those around you. Reverend Peter Muzia lives to tell his story to inspire more lives. Diagnosed with colon cancer in 2018, Reverend Muzia had to adapt to living with a new body. After being diagnosed with colon cancer in 2019, he sought medical services where doctors recommended that he undergoes an operation in order for them to remove a tumor that was growing at the end of his colon. This meant that they had to cut the intestines and divert the end of the colon to the other side of his body. He now lives with a condition called stoma.
An operation in order for them to remove the tumor that was growing at the end of my colony, and that meant that they cut the intestines and divert the end of the colony to the other side of my body in order to deal with the tumor that was at the end of the colony. So that's how I found myself having a stomy and using stomy bag.
A stoma is an opening on a person's stomach where the end of the intestine is brought to the surface to create a colostome, allowing waste matter to empty into a special bag that sits on the tummy. For many, a stoma is a temporary solution while the intestine recovers from the surgery. For others, it is permanent. Raising more awareness on the condition and removing the negative stigma is what is being called on.
In a normal life, I drive, I can swim, I can play squash, and as a pastor I preach, so it has had no interruption of my normal life, especially after going through the healing process. The challenges that we've had is the provision of the bags, but with the coming in of the Stomach Care Association, there's been a stable flow of bags, and so life goes on.
People living with such conditions face as many difficulties as it is not easy to access the right colostrum bags.
So if the doctors, the nurses and other health care providers can have all the necessary knowledge about the condition, about how one can take care of themselves whilst living with the condition, then it will be better off for the patient. But in this case, we're talking of we're talking of a doctor who is seeing maybe 200 patients. We just spent 4 or 5 minutes with these patients. He's okay, he's okay, he's recuperating very well. That's the thing. But also the psychological part, how that person will continue living with that condition, is not there.
The attainment of Zambia's goal of being a prosperous and middle-income country by 2030, as stipulated in its Vision 2030, is dependent on, among others, a healthy and productive population. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
A 44-year-old man who underwent a 4-hour-long surgery to have a 7-year-old tumor removed from his jaw has been discharged from the University Teaching Hospital, UTH. Ndola-based Jazel Mufaya, who came to Lusaka for an operation, has told Camnet TV News that he is thankful to God and says he will serve him even more than before. A multidisciplinary medical team that included surgeons at the University Teaching Hospital, UTH, on October 4th, 2022, successfully removed the tumor known as ameloblastoma from the jaw of Mr. Mufaya. We would like to warn our sensitive viewers that the picture you're about to see may be disturbing. More in this report.
Camnet TV has been keenly following the story of Jazel Mufaya, who had been agonizing with a tumor on his jaw that had taken over the entire lower part of his face. A week earlier, the patient had declared from his hospital bed that he believed his God was going to be with him during the operation. On October 4, 2022, the lead surgeon, Dr. Christopher Kapeshi, and his assistant, Dr. Mwalimu Kamanga, assembled their team and successfully removed the tumor from the man they have nicknamed the Zesco Man. A Camnet TV news crew was at hand to document yet another milestone by Zambia's very own doctors and their team, putting the country at the top of medical tourism. The 4-hour-long operation can only be described as a miracle. Before being discharged on Saturday, the father of 4 says, like everybody else, he had his own thoughts before going into theater.
It was the symptom that I didn't expect. I thought maybe I would die there, or there's the symptom, or hang out. But thank God I'm here today to say thank you to him.
The man who works for Zesco as an electrician cannot wait to meet his children and has thanked everyone who has stood by him and his family.
They are really to see the father.
The Zesco man, who uses his soprano voice in the UCZ choir where he is a member, has vowed to dedicate the rest of his entire life working for his maker.
Wow, I'll praise him and continue praising him more than I did before. Okay. I showed me mercy.
His wife and sister are thankful to the medical team and has urged the general public to trust local medical doctors.
Kutotera fe kuliresa na kuliwa Dr. Kamanga na kubantu bonse abaletupepera
pakutambande fo kutashalesa mufyo mwacho wanda pitiremo nokutasha abakashi abayiminine naye na pantunga takwali abakashi abasumina obulwere nokwikala nanko ekiteita lyonse yukwati akosereshwe na yena ndefo kutasha as a family banono abakashana saizi kuti abutuka.
He is brave indeed and has lived to inspire others with his faith. His 4 children must be happy to have their father home and healing. Tito Kalama, Camnet News.
Now, in a heinous case of child sexual abuse, a 22-year-old lady of Lusaka's KANYAMA compound, who was allegedly abused by her paternal grandfather on several occasions starting at the age of 15 years, has finally broken the silence and reported her grandfather to the KANYAMA police station for incest. The victim says she is, however, stranded without a place to live after her family chased her from home for breaking the silence. More in this report. Stakeholders in the water sector have backed President Hakainde Hichilema's stance on the need to utilize the Constituency Development Fund (CDF) to undertake water and sanitation projects. President Hichilema recently implored local authorities to place water and sanitation among priorities when coming up with projects to be funded under CDF. And Water Aid Zambia Country Director Pamela Chisanga tells Camnet News that using CDF to improve access to water and sanitation will play a significant role in alleviating sector problems. Meanwhile, National Water Supply and Sanitation Council NWASCO Chief Inspector Peter Mtale says his organization will be working on modalities on how water utility companies can effectively participate in CDF. More in this report.
Zambia continues to be confronted with the challenge of inadequate access to water and sanitation. According to the 2014 Zambia Demographic Health Survey, 90% of households in urban areas have access to safe water compared to only 53% of households in rural areas. The problem of access to water is something that does not escape media coverage, and recently Camnet TV lighted the problem of water scarcity in Lusaka's Linda compound. However, President Hakainde Hichilema acknowledges the importance of water and sanitation, and to actualize his pronouncements, he recently implored local authorities to utilize part of the Constituency Development Fund (CDF) to address water and sanitation issues.
Why don't you set priorities? Yes, CDF will do many things. Women fund, youth fund, enterprise fund, but there's certain basics. Water and sanitation. I talked about it earlier. Why don't we set a target here that by 2024, every clinic, I'm talking of government to start with, central and local, every clinic, every school, every agricultural camp, every government installation will have water.
While specific budget allocation to the water sector to have slightly reduced, there is hope under the CDF, whose allocation has been increased from 25.7 million kwacha to 28.3 million kwacha in the 2023 national budget. Water Aid Zambia Country Director Pamela Chisanga shared her views on how CDF can be used to improve access to water and sanitation.
In terms of CDF, again, there is a lot of leverage there for us to be able to address issues of water, sanitation and hygiene at community level, as well as in public institutions such as schools and health. So what we'll then be looking forward to is seeing consistent and continued messaging around the need for constituencies to prioritize water, sanitation and hygiene in CDF funding.
Peter Mutale is National Water Supply and Sanitation Council NWASCO Chief Inspector.
CDF had to be moved, from that low value to about 25. Now we're talking about 28, and already the commercial entities have started tapping into this. So what we just want is, going into 2023, we formalize it, and we have started sensitizing the local authorities already that they should be ready to support the commercial entities when they bring these projects for water and sanitation in their various constituencies. So CDF for us, I think, will play a critical role. It will supplement on what has been provided for in the budget. So what I think is just important now is to work hard to make sure that we prepare those plans so that when we go and sell them to these CDF committees, they should go through without any problem.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
Chisankana Ward Councillor of Kafue District, KB Sikangila, has refuted media claims that he is involved in illegal land allocation and has accused the council secretary and the named councillor to be behind the cartel that has gone on a rampage in land illegalities. Mr. Sikangila visited one of the lands in question near G Greens and met the owner of the land, who said she has been working with the councillor in securing the land against some known people masquerading as UPND cadres. On Saturday, 8th October 2022, Camnet Television carried a story on 11 members of a family who had alleged that the councillor and some UPND cadres were threatening harm and had demarcated their land into a number of plots. More in this report.
Kafue District has continued to attract negative publicity over land-related disputes. One area in particular is Chisakene Ward that covers Chentumbu and Chalala area. Recently, the earlier councillor had invited Kafue District Commissioner Mollis Hakapelwa to visit the particular land in question, where some party cadres had allegedly encroached and demarcated themselves several plots. However, a family of 11 yesterday alleged that the earlier councillor and some cadres belonging to the UPND had been threatening them with violence. In the report carried by Camnet TV, the family and neighbors said cadres had demarcated themselves plots on the land. The area councillor today visited the family, and it turned out that they were not the owners of the land but caretakers. The councillor assured them that he was there to save their interests and that of the landowner.
I'm not happy as an area councillor. This councillor who is coming to start creating plot in my ward without me knowing, let him stop now. Even council secretary, I'm appealing to the commission. Commissioner, Honorable Sejan, can you remove this council secretary from the council? There is nothing that we are going to do. There is not a time that people start pleasing that no is very good. It's not about very good, no. It's a good to deliver. It's a time to deliver. It's a time for us to deliver as a new dawn. There's nothing to say no is good. It's good for what? We started long time. Even in Chalala, people are complaining same. People are complaining. They can't do even a little.
He has accused the local authority and some individuals of having formed a cartel for illegal land allocation.
When he is captured by few individuals, I'm not happy about it. Please, 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 the commissioner, remove this council. Bring a new council chairperson, council secretary there. Bring a new council secretary there. It's a council, there's nothing to fear. We are servant. He is supposed to be a servant of the people. We are servant of the people. We are not happy. And you councillor, I know you councillor, who are coming here working with the PF cadres, creating plots in my ward. Can you stop it? ACC, you are listening. Come, we give you this information. We will follow these who are going around and create plots, tarnishing my name. I'm not there to grab plots. No, I'm there to save people. That is a job that I came for.
The owner of the land soon arrived and shared a correspondence between her and the local authority, confirming that the land was hers and was under title. UPND Tshisekedi Ward chairperson has regretted that some people are bent on tarnishing the name of the party.
That this land is on title and there's no KTC chart from 1 to 37. And then whoever comes on this land, they should be arrested by the police.
Okay.
And it's on our side, it's helping us. Because everything here is the truth.
Okay.
I came to consult so that we can work together and just these people who are just all over grabbing land from people. So my appeal, these people who are grabbing land in my ward, let them stop as quick as possible.
History is full of lessons about war starting as a result of land disputes. Authorities have to quickly move in and put in place sufficient laws that will nip in the bud land-related issues that the country as a whole has continued to witness. Tito Kalama, Camnet News, Kafue District.
Senior Chief Mwenewi C. of the Lamba people in Mafinga district of Muchinga province has called for the construction of a first ever secondary school in the chiefdom. Speaking during the commemoration of Chikungu traditional ceremony through the Zambia royal establishment, he says that he's saddened that the chiefdom has never had a secondary school since independence, a situation that compromises education standards. The traditional leader has also appealed for the electrification of the chiefdom, as well as the construction of a palace, both of which have been non-existent since independence. Speaking at the same event, Mafinga constituency member of Parliament Robert Chabinga has appealed to councillors in the chiefdom to aggregate challenges for consideration under the Constituency Development Fund (CDF). Officiating at the ceremony, Muchinga Province Permanent Secretary Henry Mukungule underscored the government's commitment to uplifting the lives of the people in the area. Patrick Soko reports.
Culture plays a pivotal role in human life as traditional ceremonies signify opportunities to appreciate diverse culture the country possesses. The Zambia people of Mafinga district in Muchinga Province Saturday commemorated the Chikungu traditional ceremony. The Chikungu, meaning wind, is a ceremony that is held to celebrate the wind of restoration and healing that wiped out various challenges. It is also a celebration of the harvest and the ancestors of Mulambya who conquered the land. Senior Chief Mwenewisi of the Zambia people through the Mulambya Royal Establishment Chairperson Alisala Mulambya appealed for the construction of a first-ever secondary school in the chiefdom, among other pressing issues.
Of the various challenges, there has never been a secondary school since independence. We have had no electricity of any kind. Probably we are one of those who are very poor that we are in the darkness. We have no mini hospital, but a very small clinic. We hope you come to our help. You may have even seen our poor road network. Probably those are good ones, but when you go through Nachisitu up to the other end near the border, the road is extremely bad. Our Royal Highness has both no palace and no transport. We know very well that from here to the road to catch a lift, there are 24 kilometers.
And Mafinga constituency member of Parliament Robert Chabinga implored councillors in the chiefdom to aggregate the challenges for consideration under the Constituency Development Fund (CDF).
Guest of honor, I want to say this, that this issue of a secondary school, we have sat down with my team, the council chairperson and the council secretary and the team, that the secondary school, we shall start doing the processes this coming week by Monday to make sure that the processes are done, and we want the contractor to be on site as soon as possible. Next year we have been allocated and given, increased the CDF by His Excellency the President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, from 25.7 million to 28.3 million. I'll go back to the councillors and the WDCs and the people that can you form as many cooperatives that should be able to benefit from this CDF through empowerment.
Meanwhile, Muchinga Province Permanent Secretary Henry Mukungule says the government is committed to uplifting the lives of the people in the district.
You can agree with me that the local people are now able to access these funds which are meant for the development of the local community. You raised a lot of challenges through your chairman, challenges that you wished me to present. It is the wish of His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hichilema, to leave anyone behind. Therefore, the increase in the development fund will allow you to tackle the most critical needs in your area.
Well, the ceremony was well attended by traditional leaders, local leaders, and government officials. Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
Now, in a heinous case of child sexual abuse, a 22-year-old lady of Lusaka's KANYAMA compound who was allegedly abused by her paternal grandfather on several occasions starting at the age of 15 years has finally broken the silence and reported her grandfather to the KANYAMA police station for incest. The victim says she is, however, stranded without a place to live after her family chased her from home for breaking the silence. More in this report.
She is a victim of dark and terrifying, unsettling secret. At only 22, she has been through and witnessed so much in her life. At 15 years old, Martha, not her real name, became a victim of sexual violence in the hands of her grandfather, whom she identified as Johnny Peter Ilunga. She had never seen her paternal grandfather until a few years ago when her father introduced him to the family. Things, however, changed for Martha, who lives in the shanty of Lusaka's KANYAMA compound, when her mother died. The experience of meeting the grandfather for the first time elicited joy, hope, and a sense of belonging, but the grandfather had other ideas for her.
Abanza kinyere base vene nifuna ndivina kongera kudiwe na shukuru vabwanyi vemufuna atawe base vene vina kuuza mpase vene nifuna ngasuzani pasa pasonza siana kupada doka zapeza nisidu ngomwadi na shitumbi abana ndafutimanda babwanganisa bachita bene kuchi aza madezi yenenzo nkaramo sinezo zote natengo dara madenda.
She recalls with pain how the year 2015 became a hallmark of alleged sexual exploitation in the hands of the man she thought would protect her at all costs. The fortunate part about her case is that our alleged abuser has been apprehended and currently detained at KANYAMA police station and charged with incest. The unfortunate part about her case is that the entire family, including her father, have disowned and chased her from the place she once called home. The family blames her for whatever happened.
Badade wanachusa mauti ine sininga musungi because matenda sana tengere kuri ine matenda sana badwe nayo so siza kwa tengera matenda ya so sininga musungi nda nuwa kufa ero aula kudala ni shitumbi chebatireta so sininga sunge shitumbi panyumba panga pana asakire koenda okabanikana chebonse nangara stranded nzaenda kuti kulibe kuninga ndero nayo life banonongera so siniza pa government angantandizeko oro mepinga kuzanga mtu angantandizeko antandizeko chabedana ngara stranded nibekoenda.
Incest and other sexual and gender-based violence are common in Lusaka's KANYAMA compound. Concerned Citizen for Justice and Human Rights is now calling on various stakeholders to come on board and assist the victim with shelter and other basic needs.
I totally condemn the father. I think it's an embarrassment to the men folk to come to the extent of instead of helping the victim, is ending up abusing again the victim who has already been victimized. So for that, we are calling upon the well-wishers that can come on board and help the victim. Any material, either finances.
This reporter made efforts to follow up with the family in order to get their response on why they have decided to victimize the victim even more instead of offering support. The victim's father's phone in particular went unanswered. Camnet TV is keenly following up this matter. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Southern African Network Against Corruption, SANAC Executive Director Gregory Chifire has expressed worry that the Electoral Commission of Zambia may not hold the by-elections in Kabushi and Kwacha constituencies on time in line with the Constitution. Article 57, Cap 1 of the Constitution of Zambia demands that elections to fill the vacancies are held within 90 days from the time the respective seats fell vacant. Mr. Chifire notes that the two constituencies risk not having representation in Parliament during the life of the current Parliament because there is no provision in the Constitution that allows the Commission to hold elections outside the 90 days time frame. And Chifire points out that elections must be held on or before the 27th of October 2022 in Kabushi and 2nd November 2022 in the Kwacha constituency. He said ECZ has lamentably failed to carry out its constitutional mandate and must accordingly be rebuked. The holding of Kabushi and Kwacha constituency by-elections, respectively, remain in limbo awaiting the determination of the ongoing court cases.
The Commission should have, within 90 days, as provided by Article 57 of the Constitution, conducted the elections. We are worried that the two constituencies if elections are not held within the 90 days from then to now, risk not having representation in Parliament because there's no constitutional provision that provides for the holding of elections outside the 90 days window. As we are all aware, as at today, 9th of October 2022, there are only 18 days remaining to hold the elections in Kawushi, which is supposed to be on the 27th of October 2022, and 23 days is supposed to be on the 2nd of November 2022. This has put everyone in a difficult situation, and the Commission itself in a difficult situation.
Acting Republican Progressive Party President and member of the UPND Alliance, Cassius Akapelwa, says it is malicious for any opposition political member to claim that they are being victimized by law enforcement agencies. In an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Akapelwa says institutions like the Anti-Corruption Commission, SEC, are just operating based on the rule of law and that those who are innocent should have nothing to worry about. He says those that are being summoned by the law enforcement agencies have a task to prove themselves innocent rather than crying foul to the public that they are being victimized.
Our colleagues to say the law is being selective here. It's very clear. If you look at the president, how many times he was summoned, okay? How many times he was summoned at the time that he was in the opposition. He was summoned, reported to the police, he would go and clear his name. This is how fair the law is. So what we are basically saying here is that whoever that is summoned by the security agencies, they shouldn't feel victimized. Let them go be answerable and clear their names. It's clear. It's clear as that. How can the law be selective when they suspiciously think that there was crime here? Matters of that nature are investigated, prosecuted, and following the process of its kind by you being summoned and questioned and clear your name. It's crystal clear. Those that have been called and they've cleared their names, they are not complaining. So it's a process. They should remember how they were doing it. And government, that's how the government security agencies are run. It's investigating and then prosecuting. And this is how it's being done. So if there's an alleged crime somewhere, be ready to be summoned and go and clear your name. If you've not committed any crime, why should you be feeling like you are being selected in that regard? So let us be very clear. The law is not for a selected few.
This is Camnet Television and not just another channel. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more news.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, my dear. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Welcome back. We continue with the news. The Ministry of Community Development and Social Services has taken over the welfare of the 13 survivors of the abduction following the completion of their medical examinations. Minister of Community Development and Social Services Doreen Mwamba said the ministry, through the Department of Social Welfare, has provided a place of safety as mandated in the provisions of the Anti-Gender-Based Violence Act No. 1 of 2011 and the Anti-Human Trafficking Act No. 11 of 2008. Ms. Mwamba noted that the young ladies are currently in good spirits after undergoing medical checkups to ascertain their health statuses and establish the extent of their sexual exploitation and abuse. She, however, stated that the traumatic experience of the abductions caused huge psychological effects on the mental health of the survivors, hence they need psychosocial therapy as part of the healing process. In a press statement issued to Camnet News in Lusaka today, Ms. Mwamba said the families of the survivors have been informed of the planned interventions by the government and has requested the families to give the government more time to take care of the survivors before they are eventually reintegrated into their families. Ms. Mwamba explains that the ministry is working closely with the Gender Divide as well as non-governmental organizations to ensure that all supplies are provided to the survivors in order to safeguard their stay in a place of safety. She noted that criminal investigations by the Zambia police have to continue to ensure that all the culprits are brought to book. Dr. Paul Zulu, infectious diseases specialist at Zambia National Public Health Institute, has implored people on HIV treatment to avoid smoking and abusing alcohol, as that undermines the recovery process. Zambia has a population of over 18 million, and of the 1.3 million living with HIV, 95.7% are aware of their statuses. In addition, an estimated 92.4% are accessing antiretroviral treatment, 80.7% of whom are virally suppressed. And Dr. Zulu notes that people who abuse alcohol tend to forget to take medication, adding that this also affects the ability of drugs to work effectively, thereby weakening the immune system. He spoke to Camnet News on the sidelines of the Media Science Cafe in Lusaka.
Two cardinal things that usually affect, especially when we talk about issues of non-communicable diseases. Smoking as a whole usually increases your risk for cardiovascular disease and many other things, risk for lung cancers and the like. So it's something that with or without HIV can be detrimental to someone's health. And when you look at the issue of alcohol abuse, it comes in, it's multifaceted, but in a way, especially for those that are on treatment, most that abuse alcohol are more prone to then be non-adherent to treatment, miss their doses, and this can also at times interact with the treatment that they're taking. And remember here the focus is on alcohol abuse. Yes, there are some who may drink a little bit within reason, that's okay. But when you abuse alcohol, that may interact with your drugs, affect your liver and the like, and this may affect the drugs that you're taking. So usually we do not encourage alcohol. Alcohol abuse is generally not encouraged, but we just speak over issues of alcohol use and smoking in people that are taking HIV, that this is something that they need to look at and also have help should they have issues dealing with it.
Government has opened the resident and bona fide hunting starting Monday, October 10th, 2022. Speaking when he graced the raffle draw for the 2022 hunting season at Lusaka's government complex yesterday, Tourism Permanent Secretary Evans Muhanga said hunting is an important tool in the sustainable management of wildlife resources, as enshrined in the Zambia Wildlife Act No. 14 of 2015. He said the Ministry of Tourism, through the Department of National Parks and Wildlife, has developed guidelines to ensure that citizens, residents and bona fide applicants are given a fair chance of being considered for a hunting license. Meanwhile, Resident Hunters Association Chairperson Captain David Mwila urged government to make resident hunting less complicated to discourage poaching. You're watching Camnet Television. We'll take a second and final break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all
nations and develop Africa. Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans. all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
Welcome back. And now in international news, in the fight against terrorism in general and the Al-Shabaab extremist group in particular, the Somali government has decided to enforce a new measure. On Saturday, October 7, the Deputy Minister of Information announced the government banned what it calls the dissemination of extremism ideology messages from official media houses and on social media. Burkina Faso's coup leader, Captain Ibrahim Traore, will convene a so-called National Assembly on October 14 and 15 to appoint a transitional charter and most likely a new transitional president. The announcement came Saturday after a decree was read on state television. For more in international news, here's a roundup.
Burkina Faso's coup leader, Captain Ibrahim Traore, will convene a so-called National Assembly on October 14 and 15 to appoint a new transitional president. The announcement came Saturday after a decree was read on state television. The assembly talks are set to take place in Ouagadougou. After Traore's military takeover and his appointment as president of the transition, he met with diplomats on Friday as the country experiences a time of great tribulation. Jihadist militants have killed thousands and forced 2 million to flee their homes since 2015. Despite military operations, attacks increased since mid-March and continue to plunge families into mourning. Terrorism is making things difficult for the Burkinabe people. We are with the new president and we pray that God assist him. We're also looking for new equipment and military personnel so that we can get out of this. If not, a lot of our children will die. Mourners attended Saturday the funeral of 27 soldiers who were slain in an ambush on September 26. They were part of a supply convoy of more than 200 trucks heading to the town of Djibo, the capital of the northern Sahel region, when they were attacked. In addition to the 27 soldiers killed, at least 10 civilians died. Others are still unaccounted for. The Al-Qaeda terrorist group claimed responsibility for the attack. This military setback is seen as the catalyst for the second coup. Shortly after ascending to power, Junta leader Traore argued soldiers lacked the basic logistics under his predecessor, the Miba. In the fight against terrorism in general and the Al-Shabaab extremist group in particular, the Somali government has decided to enforce a new measure. On Saturday, the Deputy Minister of Information announced the government banned what it calls the dissemination of extremism ideology messages, both from official media houses and on social media. I want to inform Somali media and all Somalis that we will regard all Al-Shabaab-related propaganda coverage, including their terrorist acts and their ideology, as punishable crimes. Thus, in implementing its decision, the government has started cyber operations to fight terrorist accounts on social media. So far, we have suspended more than 40 accounts on Facebook and Twitter. Abdirahman Yusuf insisted the decision would not affect normal news coverage about Al-Shabaab by journalists in Somalia. Earlier this week, the jihadist extremists carried out a deadly triple bombing. The armed forces, backed by local militias and international allies, have waged a campaign against the Al-Qaeda-linked group, which still controls swaths of the countryside.
It's now time for sports news. And on sports news, the Zambia Under-20 men's national team has maintained a bright start to the COSAFA Under-20 Championship with a win over Eswatini. Coach Chisimbewe's boys won by 2 goals to nil. the encounter, Emmanuel Mukosha and Lombe Mutale scored for Zambia. Final group game is on Tuesday, October 11, 2022 against Botswana. The top two teams at the three-group tournament will qualify to the Total Energies Under-20 AFCON Egypt 2023. And still in sports news, Camnet Stars and ZISD played to a 1-1 draw in the Football Association of Zambia FAS Division 2 Week 8 encounter. The match was played Sunday, 9th October 2022 at the Kabulonga Boys Ground, which is the home ground for Camnet Stars.
Otherwise, the game that we played was a good game. The boys played according to instruction, though we failed to capitalize on the chances that we had, most especially in the first half. We tried to pin them in their own half, but eventually we never utilized the chances that we had. We had 2 or 4 chances in the first half. We failed in the second half. We conceded the silly penalty, which was not supposed to be. Then they scored us. We tried to come and pin them in the second half. Still again, we never had to utilize the chances that we had. Though it was quite a good game, and we expect for the boys to do well in the next game.
And then our boys started at a low pace, but as time goes by, at least we managed to up the tempo, and then we managed to hold them, and then they scored, and then we managed to push, and then we told the boys what to do. Fortunately enough, they managed to find the back of the net, and we are working on it. Next time we don't start below par. Otherwise, it was a tough game. They're a good team. Camnet being on top of the league, it's a good team. So we are working on it as well so that we catch them.
That sporting story brings us to the end of our news tonight. But before we go, the headlines once again. KANYAMA man arrested for defiling his granddaughter. Tumor survivor discharged from hospital. Government to support 13 ladies who were abducted. In international news, Somalia bans Al-Shabaab propaganda content. And in sports news, Zambia remains unbeaten in the Under-20 COSAFA Championship. Our cabinet verse for the day is coming from the book of Luke 12, verse 33 to 34. Sell your possessions and give to the poor. Provide purses for yourselves that will not wear out, a treasure in heaven that will never fail, where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Thank you once again for watching the news. I'm Jeffrey Ziambo. Good night.